Hey there, estate planning attorney Paul Rabelais, and this video is for those married people who are at least a little bit worried about what would happen if they passed away, leaving their estate to their spouse, and their spouse later remarried. So, married people who want to provide when they die for their spouse, they often want to ensure that their children are protected so that when both spouses pass away, they can enhance the lives of their children. So this issue of, if I leave my estate to my spouse, what if my spouse remarries, is a sensitive issue, because I'm talking about it to a married couple and they're having to envision, number one, them dying, and number two, their surviving spouse remarrying and bringing somebody else into the house and into the bedroom and all of that. It can be a sensitive issue. Fortunately, I'm speaking to a camera, so I don't have to be quite so sensitive in this discussion. So let me give you an example. Let's say, husband dies and leaves his $3 million estate to his wife. Now, as husband's setting all of this up, in the back of his mind, he's a little bit worried. And he's worried that, if I leave my $3 million estate to my wife and she remarries, and the husband she remarries, and what if my wife, either because she wants to or because that next husband influences her to, what if she gets my estate and then she leaves it all to her next husband? That would completely cut out my kids, is what the husband's thinking. So one option to remedy that is for the husband to leave his $3 million estate to a trust for his wife. The idea, husband dies, his estate is available to his wife under the terms of that trust instrument, which we're about to talk about. And then when his wife dies, whatever's left in that trust must revert back to the husband's children. That's what a trust does. So there's lots of decisions, though, for the husband to make when he's setting up this trust. Let's talk about 3 really important decisions that the husband must make when he's establishing this trust that will take effect when he dies, where his entire estate will go into a trust for the benefit of his wife, and then when she dies, it'll revert back to his children. So one of those important decisions is, after the husband dies and leaves his estate to this trust, who's going to be the income beneficiary of that trust? If that $3 million estate produces some income, not necessarily talking here about capital appreciation as it grows, talking more about things like interest and dividends and rental income, who gets that? Well, it really makes a lot of sense for the husband to state that his wife is the lifetime income beneficiary of that trust. One, it gives her lifetime. If he has a $3 million estate and she gets the income off of that, again, not talking about capital appreciation, but just income, maybe, interest rates are so low these days, maybe it might produce a 1 or 2% income return. So if it's a $3 million estate and it produces $30,000 to $60,000 a year in income, that would go to the wife for the rest of her life. There's a tax reason why he should do that as well. And we're approaching a Biden presidency. Most people think or know that the tax burden is going to get worse on estates when Biden becomes president. This is not a political discussion. It's more of an estate planning discussion, but that's the word. And so we've got to be real careful about this estate tax exemption and what's called the federal estate tax marital deduction. And if the husband leaves his estate to a trust for the benefit of his wife and names his wife as the lifetime income beneficiary, that qualifies for the estate tax marital deduction. Just trust me, there's some tax advantages there. You'll have to look at another video or 2 of mine on the estate tax marital deduction. So he should name his wife as the lifetime income beneficiary of his trust that he leaves behind for her. So she gets that income. That's decision number 1. Decision number 2 is, when is the wife, after the husband dies, entitled to principal distributions? So when's she entitled to some of the assets? Well, I'd say what's customary is for the husband to leave his estate to a trust for his wife. He names the wife as the income beneficiary. And what's customary is for him to say something like, after the husband dies, it's in a trust for his wife, and the wife, she gets all the income, and she can have principal for her. The common standard is what we call the HEMS standard, HEMS. she can have principal distributions for her health, education, maintenance, and support. So if she has health needs, she can take additional principal. If she needs distributions for her maintenance or support, perhaps to just meet her ordinary standard of living, perhaps she gets principal distributions for that. But what he may want to do is say, after I die, my wife gets all the income. She gets that for her lifetime, and she gets principal distributions for her health, education, maintenance, and support. And maybe what he says is, if my wife remarries, she'll keep getting that income because there was tax advantages to giving her the income for life, but she's no longer entitled to any principal distributions, no matter what. So, or maybe he'll say at the principal distributions stop when my wife dies or remarries or shacks up. The trust instrument probably doesn't say shacks up, but it might say cohabitates with another person like they're married. So then at that point, then those principal distributions stop. New husband can take care of her. So that's the second decision, is what's the surviving wife's entitlement to principal distributions. And then the third and final decision that the husband makes when he sets all of this up, it's an important decision. Who's the trustee of this trust after the husband dies? Should the wife be the trustee, and should she be able to make that determination of when she gets principal distributions? Should it be the wife and somebody else together, and that way they have to make decisions together to make principal distributions for her? Should it be someone entirely other than the wife? Should it be a corporate trustee at $3 million? It's probably worth enough to warrant consideration of having a corporate trustee. Then you got to make all these kinds of decisions of how does a trustee get removed? When does a trustee get removed if they're not doing their job? If a trustee becomes incapacitated so that it falls to the successor trustee, how is that incapacity determined? What happens if there's a vacancy in the office of the trustee? The husband may have named a person and a backup, and both those people can't do it. What happens in the event of a vacancy in the office of trustee? So all those things have to be considered when the husband is arranging to leave his estate to a trust for the benefit of his wife, so that the remaining trust assets revert back to his children or his heirs when his surviving wife passes away. There's probably two other things the husband should do when he's looking into this. One is he should hit the like button. That'll tell YouTube to tell more husbands and more wives about this so they don't make a mistake. And then the other thing he should do, if he hadn't already, is subscribe to the channel so he doesn't miss anything, so that he can make sure that he's setting up his estate just right for his family to enhance the lives, not only for his wife, but also enhance the lives for his children after he and his wife pass away. All right, we'll see you next time.